Discover Charlotte Bronte's teenage poetry and hidden literary genius, Jane Eyre's origin. London. Imagine being just 13 years old and already dreaming of becoming a published author. That was the reality for Charlotte Bronte, the brilliant mind behind the beloved novel Jane Eyre. Back in 1829, at a time when few women dared to share their words with the world, Charlotte was busy crafting her own collection of poems, hinting at the literary greatness that lay ahead. In the chilly winter of that year, she poured her heart into a little anthology called A Book of Rhymes. This wasn't just any collection, it was a labor of love, meticulously stitched together from scraps of paper no bigger than playing cards, complete with a handwritten contents page. It's hard to believe that the future author of Jane Eyre didn't plan to share her youthful poetry with the world, as she cheekily noted on the inner cover, sold by nobody and printed by herself. Fast forward nearly 200 years, and this charming anthology is finally making its debut for the public to enjoy. Just last week, in celebration of what would have been her 209th birthday on April 21st, the Bronte Parsonage Museum in England unveiled this collection of 10 poems, beautifully transcribed alongside images of the original ink-smudged pages. Charlotte Bronte, who left this world too soon at the age of 38 in 1855, is now being celebrated in a way that honors her early passion for writing. The anthology features a variety of works, including a long poem that captures the beauty of nature, an ambitious attempt at an epic, and a playful piece titled A Thing of 14 Lines, commonly called a sonnet. What's truly fascinating is how the manuscript reveals Charlotte's creative process, with crossed outlines and rearranged stanzas, showcasing a young writer already wrestling with character and perspective. They chart her development as a writer, explains Dinsdale, the principal curator at the Bronte Parsonage Museum. The original manuscript, which had been lost for over a century, will also be on display at the museum in Haworth, where the Bronte family lived and created their literary masterpieces. The existence of these poems first came to light thanks to a biography by Victorian novelist Elizabeth Gaskell, published in 1857. Gaskell mentioned a treasure trove of early poems and stories by Bronte, starting from when she was just 10 years old, with a total of 22 titles by the time she turned 14. These youthful works, including A Book of Rhymes, became cherished items among collectors. In 1916, the anthology was auctioned in New York but then mysteriously disappeared. It resurfaced in 2022, making headlines at the New York International Antiquarian Book Fair, where it was sold by an anonymous collector for a staggering $1.25 million. This auction took place on the 206th anniversary of Bronte's birth, a fitting tribute to her legacy. Thanks to the Friends of the National Libraries, a British non-profit organization, the funds were raised from 9 generous donors, including the Garfield Weston Foundation and the estate of the renowned poet T.S. Eliot, to ensure that this precious book wouldn't vanish into another private collection. It was then donated to the Bronte Parsonage Museum, preserving it in the very place where the Bronte siblings, Charlotte, Emily, and their brother Branwell, created their imaginative worlds. From their home in Haworth, the Bronte siblings produced tiny magazines filled with elaborate stories, often written for their beloved toy soldiers. They would gather any scrap of paper they could find, scribbling on sugar bags and binding their books with wallpaper scraps. This creative process not only fueled their imaginations but also kept the curious eyes of adults at bay. Charlotte's A Book of Rhymes was written in the voices of 2 toy soldiers, the Marquis of Douro and Lord Charles Wellesley, as they embarked on adventures through a Canadian forest or an exiled journey in biblical Babylon. The young Brontes' early works reflect the literature they were immersed in at the time, with their father, Patrick Bronte, a priest and nature enthusiast, encouraging them to explore the natural beauty around them. Long before her characters would navigate the pastoral landscapes of her novels, teenage Charlotte Bronte captured the essence of nature in her poems Autumn, a Song, and Spring, a Song. In one poem, A Bit of a Rhyme, she writes, "Meantime the rushing stream which roars along its black waves foaming in high majesty." While her verses may not be perfect, the introspective young Bronte was aware of this, candidly stating in her introduction, The following are attempts at rhyming of an inferior nature, it must be acknowledged, but they are nevertheless my best. The Bronte Parsonage Museum collaborated with a local publisher to bring this collection to life, enlisting the talented American musician, author, and poet Patti Smith to pen the foreword. In her heartfelt introduction, Smith reflects on how Bronte's teenage writings transported her back to her own childhood, where imagination served as a refuge from reality. The poems reveal a determined young writer wielding her creativity as a benevolent weapon, as Smith beautifully puts it. It is not simply a handful of juvenile verses, she adds, but the manifestation of an ambitious dreamer.